Wondering what's next in your business or personal life? Welcome to Success to Significance, Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, a podcast dedicated to helping you with all of life's challenges, discoveries, and opportunities. Whether you're seeking a new career, retirement, or simply wanting to make an impact in your community or the world. Join Jen Plessis and her guests as they explore how to start, what to do when you're in the thick of a change or growth, and how to leave a mark in this world after breaking through your next achievement. You are moments away from the aha you've been seeking.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to this episode. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because today I am going to be speaking with Frank Shankwitz, and I want to tell you all about Frank. If you don't know the name, I know you know Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it will all come together. So let me honor Frank by telling you about him. He is the creator and co-founder, president and CEO of Make-A-Wish Foundation. He was in the Air Force, so thank you for your service. I wasn't aware of that until I looked at your bio. Thank you so much for your service. He was part of the Arizona Highway Patrol for 42 years and then became a homicide detective, so I'm sure there's some stories there for us as well. Oh my gosh, it just goes on and on. White House, two presidents have recognized you as with a service award, making a difference, and you also got an award, Making a Difference in the World award from the U.S. military at West Point. You have two honorary doctorates, one in public service and the other in law. You have been in Forbes magazine as one of the top keynote speakers in the country or in the world, I guess, right? You have your own star in Las Vegas. You have your own star in Arizona. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I just hope I can grow up one day to be like you. But Frank, and I don't want to bore everybody with everything, but gosh, you have so much. And we'll put his bio in the show notes so that you can all see that it is absolutely amazing what this man has done. So I want to start off, Frank, but again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, I appreciate the invite. I really do.
Well, thank you. And, as a charter founding guest, this is what makes it so powerful is that, several years from now, we'll look back on this and say, wow, isn't that awesome? So I want to start off with a question that, and I think the biggest thing I need to say to make sure everybody understands is that your life was based on your life. A movie was released a couple of years ago, and I was fortunate enough to be at the second premiere, which was in your hometown, or at least in your home state, with you. And and that's called Wishman, and it's a portrayal about your entire life. And so people
we'll promote a little bit.
Yes, yeah, and that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Definitely needs to be there. And of course, you have a book of the same name, and and so that's going to tell a lot about your story. But what I really want to know is maybe something directly from you and something that's not based on your life, but that is your life. So if you could, thinking back on your life, right? Thinking back on your life, talk to us about or share with us about a time that was interesting or challenging that really formed who you are today.
Well, I think the most thing is, and just very briefly, my life, I was born in Chicago, 2 years old. My mother divorced my father, left. I never had any idea where she went during those years. From 2 to 5, very happy times with my father, my grandparents, and uncles, cousins. At 5 years old, on a kindergarten playground, a lady grabbed me, had no idea who she was. She said, "I'm your mother, you're going with me," kicking and screaming, and drug off this playground. For the next 5 years was very challenging. She went to Michigan, northern Michigan. In the summer times, we lived in a tent, lived in a car, lived in flop houses during the winter. I mean, just the whole thing was survival. And I was always on my own. She would go to work at night. She'd go wherever she'd go. I was just on my own. Hunger, food, like I say, survival. But I learned during that time how to start taking care of myself. At 10 years old, my father found us, and in fact went into town to get the local sheriff to have her arrested. And during that time, she threw everything we had in the car and went to Arizona, where she originally wanted to go anyhow. And at 10 years old, started a whole new chapter in my life. We ended up in a little town called Seligman, Arizona. In fact, outside of town, completely ran out of gas money. The first time I'd ever seen her cry. A rancher stopped by. "What's wrong?" She told him the story. He said, I'll get you some gas, follow me. And for the next 6 months, we actually lived in his ranch house, but a very small ranch house. We had to sleep on the kitchen floor at night. But this was the first time we were in a town. This little town is like 500 people, predominantly Mexican Indian, a railroad town, a ranching town. And I got a job at 10 years old washing dishes full time. My mother worked as a motel maid. But I was watching a gentleman across the street, a Mexican gentleman, building something, went over and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Frank." He said, "From now on, you're Pancho," meaning Frank in Spanish, "and grab a hammer, kid." Now, I had never had a father figure during this time.
Right.
I said, I don't know what to do. What do you mean, grab a hammer? And he said, "I'm going to teach you." And this Juan became my father figure. In fact, we highlight him in the movie.
Right.
Which started for the next several years, this mentorship. This man developed in my character and my integrity. I always like to say those two traits are not inherited, they're developed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But it was a big important change in my life. And through the next few years, introduced me to music, sports, something I never got involved with. Actually, a school where I was all of a sudden could go through grade school up to 8th grade. And that was a big difference in my life. And then the biggest thing was, and he always taught me during that time, Frank, when you can, give back. Now, this is in the 50s. And it's a popular term today. But what do you mean, Juan? Give back? The poor people are helping us.
Right.
And he said, exactly. For an example, look at the widow, Mrs. Sanchez. She's always trying to bring you, Mom, you and your mom, beans and tortillas to help you out. But look at her yard. It's full of weeds. It's a mess. Look at her front porch. You know how to take care of that. You can give back. You don't have to have money to give back. You can give back your time, which is a lesson that stuck with me my whole life, even to today. And then when I started 7th grade, my mother said, "I can't afford you anymore," and left. "You're on your own." And I went to Juan, "What am I going to do?" And this was a big, big lesson he taught me. And then again, this is in the 50s. Learn how to turn those negatives into positive. "What do you mean, Juan? I'm homeless all of a sudden." He said, "I know what's happening. And I've arranged for the widow Sanchez that you're going to stay with her. You're going to pay her $20 a week room and board. And the big thing is a positive. You make $26 a week. Every money I ever made went to my mother. For the first time in your life, you're going to have $6 a week on your own." Well, that's a lot of money to a kid in 7th grade during that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But for the first time in your life, you're going to have your own room. You're going to have indoor plumbing. She's the best cook in town. And that was a true statement. All those negatives are positive. And the other big thing was she got the first television set in Seligman, Arizona. So that's a big positive.
Oh, that's a great thing. Yeah, for you. You were saying, oh my gosh.
But again, this mentorship, teaching me these things. Again, I've used this my whole life. When people say you can't do something, it won't work, figure out that negative to turn it to positive.
Yeah, I love that. And, and it makes such an impression when you're a young child, regardless of what someone's saying to you. If people are, in my personal life, I had a lot of negative given to me as a small child, and that formed me, right? Versus having that positive. Where do you think that Juan learned that?
Well, again, from the Mexican heritage, I mean, his and his whole family were extreme hard workers. And that's the other thing he taught me, is the work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And always be the best. It almost sounds like an Army commercial. Be the best you can be.
Right.
and always be the cleanest, always be the neatest, even though we were extremely poor. Always stand up straight. Always we could go to the Santa Fe locker rooms and wash our clothes while we showered. He taught us that. So we always had clean clothes. I mean, just things like that. Yeah,
that's amazing. And so I know, I've been around you several times, I know that of you. You're a very proud man. You're a very, very proud man, but you also have the biggest heart. It's amazing how big your heart is. So where do you think that, obviously he taught you a lot of things, to really make you a man, right? Turn you into a man and one who respects women and, all of those wonderful things. But what really was the catalyst, do you think, that moved you into the servant heart that you have?
Well, I think, again, going into high school now, I moved from this little town, Seligman, in fact, to Prescott, Arizona, where I live now. In fact, my mother contacted me, said, "I need help. I can't afford. You need to come here, work full time. But again, in high school, all of a sudden the coaches saw something, my teachers saw something, especially for football. The coaches saw something and would practice with me after actual practice, just to
Right.
help develop the skills. My teachers, I wasn't quite up to par in mathematics, go from the grade school into high school. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, they wanted to put me back to 8th grade. My football coach, who was also a math teacher in school, said, we're not going to let that happen, and tutored me all summer, where I
Wow.
took a test before the school year and again passed to do that. But that was my employers during high school. And then the same thing going into the Air Force. The instructor saw something, the sergeant saw something special and helped me develop. I was so honored to be, I got stationed in England for several years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this is during, this is during the Vietnam era, but all our bombers were sent to England. But I was chosen because of these people that helped me as the base, to be part of the base honor guard. That was only a 3-man team out of all these things. And the biggest thing for me, Jim, was I studied World War II history, both the European and Pacific theater, was a big fan of Winston Churchill.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
I was so honored to be selected when, unfortunately,
Yeah.
Winston Churchill passed away. I was on his honor guard, in fact, the final leg of the honor guard. And I just want to, and again, because these people saw something special. But because of that, I always tried again to be the best I could be to pay back to these people.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you, I mean, you definitely continue to do that. When you look back on your life now, and you look at all the breakthroughs that you had, because you definitely had a lot of breakthroughs, right? What are you most proud of?
Well, I think obviously to creating and starting the Make-A-Wish Foundation, it's a legacy. I never look for legacy. I never look for rewards or any recognition. It's all about the kids. But I do have to look back. I get so many contacts, especially of this movie right now.
Yeah.
Usually, and I'm not boasting, 20 to 30 personal messages every day from all over the world that people are being impacted by this movie. But messages from either Wish families or especially Ruin and me, Wish children that
Yeah.
have impacted this. And we started this 40 years ago.
Yeah. I know,
But
and so many people have, and I know, well, gosh, when we were at the premiere, even one of the people that was with us, in our retreat at the Airbnb, his daughter was a Wish child and now is a nurse at that same hospital.
yes, in St. Joseph's, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you must be very proud of that. I wanted to ask you this, did you see, any part of you as a child in little Michael, who is the first, I think he was called Michael in the movie.
In the movie,
Yeah, in the
real
movie.
name Chris, but remember, based on a true
Based
story.
on a true story.
We have to change name.
Wait a minute, is your name Frank? I'm giving you a hard time. Yeah. But did you see anything in him that drew you to really work with him and go above and beyond to, really give him a great wish? Or was it just what was instilled in you that you have to help people?
Well, the biggest thing with Michael, and I'm on a highway patrol motorcycle officer during this period, and I'm also on a special 10-man accident team called the Fatal Team. We got trained and we investigated the most horrific accidents, so many involving children, and so many children die unfortunately in these accidents. And then to meet this little boy who is dying, only a couple weeks to live, and to be able to do something special for him before he died, which obviously we don't get to do these poor
With an
kids
accident.
in accidents.
Right, right.
And that was the catalyst. Wow, look, we can do something like we did for him, for these other children. And when we started this, it unfortunately was for children with terminal illnesses.
Right.
Leukemia was a death sentence in those days.
Yeah.
Now, 25 years ago or so, the mission was changed to children with life-threatening illnesses, because through the grace of God, modern medicine, more and more children are surviving.
Yeah.
But again, what you asked, it was just, okay, here's one child, we got that wish, let's do that for other children.
I absolutely love that. Wow, I didn't know the depth of that. I'm glad I asked the question. Yeah, because, it's from your perspective, right? It's what could I do? And something that you learned as a child, is always look for, well, how can you help and what can you do? I absolutely love that. So let me ask you this. Who inspires you?
Who inspires me?
Yep.
this whole new world of friends I have right now.
Okay.
Constantly encouraging, suggesting accolades. I can't believe the accolades again. It's never about me, but my wife pushed me along. I get tired sometimes. She says, "Hey, look at this event. Look how you can help other people."
Right.
I'm now currently set on 7 boards, nonprofits around the nation, which allows me, as Juan said, give back.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, "You don't have to have money to give back. Give back your time, anything you do to help people." Well, I'm a retired cop, but I am giving back my time to help them develop and enhance all these nonprofits.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So since you mentioned Kitty, let's talk about her. She's obviously the love of your life. She's a great sounding board for you. She's fun. She's funny. Um, I mean, she is pretty funny. But what does she do to inspire you every day that you're with her?
Well, and I point this out in the book. We knew each other. She was a secretary for the Highway Patrol. In fact, she was on our traveling squad when all 10 of us were in a town. She would write all the reports and so on. So we knew each other. And I was going through a divorce. All divorces are bad and
Mhm.
so on, custody issues and that. And I say that Kitty found me when I needed to be found.
Yeah.
She really found me when, and I point out, well, it's in the movie that, in fact, I was killed in the line of duty, brought back to life. And she was the one assigned because we're so remote area, no hospitals, too injured to even go in an ambulance or helicopter, to stay with me a couple of days to make sure I didn't go into shock. And again, we were just friends at that time. Now, all these years later, she said, we've been married for 36 years now. She said, maybe I should have let you go into shock, but
Right.
but again, all that inspiration. She was a board member, one of the founding members of the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Right.
I was working so many hours trying to put this together because I never took a salary. All the money went to the foundation. But I would just say, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. No, there's other children. We need to help these people. My whole life married to her. It's always the same thing. Get this project done. The movie, I'm getting so exhausted. We got to get this finished.
Yeah, and I know it was
But
tough to get it over that finish line too. There were a lot of challenges that happened during that finish line. So when we're talking about the breakthroughs and things that people go through, and that you've had these wonderful, beautiful breakthroughs and new ideas. I know we'll talk about that in a minute. I can't wait to talk about what you're really working on next. But what advice do you have for people that are getting to that ceiling and need to break through it to get to the next wall? What type of advice do you have, regardless of whether it's business or personal, emotional, relationships? What advice do you have for people to keep going?
well, I don't know if I could be the great of advice on this, but it's just, and we all have hiccups in life, right? It's
Yep.
not all lollipops and roses and everything, rainbows. Um, Things happen, but
Yeah.
what you do with those things, how you handle it. And again, going back to my youth, turn those negatives to a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that happen? How come this hiccup is happening? Let's try and figure out how to correct that, whatever it might be. And that's just not personal life, but the same thing in business.
Yeah.
I feel, okay, my brand is shrinking a little bit. How can I advance my brand? How can I get it out there in the public? And the biggest thing is, if you can, surround yourself with people smarter than you, which has been my practice my whole life. And you learn that in college, right?
Yeah.
In business school, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Ask their advice. I give out also, I don't like to say advice, but I give suggestions.
Yes.
You might try this, you might try that. And I tell them, filter it through, sort it out, see what will work, what won't work. I'm not going to say you should do this. Think about it. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely love that. So, thinking about what's going on with you right now. So you have a lot of projects going on. You are busy. You are a busy guy. You have a lot of projects going on. And I know you have grandkids too, so hopefully you're spending time with them. Um, but what's going on in the future, that you're working on? I know you're working a lot with veterans. Now I've just tied that together, even looking at your bio, not knowing that you were in the military. So I understand that. I think I mentioned to you, some time ago, that I'm very involved in a veterans charitable,
Right.
organization as well. And It's just being born and raised in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I have all kinds of military around me.
Air Force Academy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. NORAD, Fort
Yeah.
Carson, everything. And my husband's father was a 3 bronze. He was awarded 3 bronze stars. So yeah, we're very strong on military, and I know that that's another avenue that you've kind of taken now, in recent years. But what does it look like for you now? Where are you spending your time, and what are you really working on, so we can get that message out to anybody who's listening to this?
Well, we're still promoting the movie. We're so fortunate, and the movie Wishman movie, in fact, so amazing to us, cast, crew, production, everybody else, that we were in fact qualified for Academy Award nomination last year for Best Picture.
I saw that.
I
Yeah.
mean, that just for a low budget independent picture to be qualified with the big boys was amazing.
Yeah.
And again, we're still promoting. We are on Netflix. It was supposed to be 6 months. We're now extended for 3 more years because of the popularity of the movie. So we're still promoting on that. I'm working on, I just got contacted last week to develop a TV series. I can't talk about that. It's all silence.
Oh my gosh, awesome. You can talk about it, but you said it.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I can talk about that. We're developing a possible TV series
great.
that I will host. So
Yeah.
that's so much fun. And this takes up all my time. But then along with these nonprofits that I'm involved with, now you mentioned veterans.
Yeah.
And one I'm really, really closely associated with is called US Vets.
Yeah.
It's not part of the Veterans Administration. There are chapters all over the United States. In fact, one of the top rated nonprofits, 87 cents of every dollar goes into the mission, which is unheard of in a nonprofit.
Right. That's high. Yeah.
And the mission of US Vets, we have a big VA hospital here, but we have the homeless veterans. We find these homeless veterans. We get them into temporary housing. We get them into counseling, job placement, job training, job placement, and permanent housing. And it's just a big successful rate here. We just was donated a former medical center for offices, 80 offices that have been transformed into studio apartments for these veterans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I just try and promote that as much as I can.
Yeah.
And these guys, what I do too is I encourage the people, clean out your closets. I travel, like I said, I'm always in hotels. I don't steal. I always take all the extra shampoos, the soaps, and so on, put them in a bag every other month, take them over there, because that helps with everything else. They don't have to buy these supplies for these guys.
Yeah, that's true.
So just really involved with that. And then these other nonprofits, just really, I did a interview today, just earlier, before yours. I know several cast members from the Phantom of the Opera. We've become good friends, the Broadway show.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I'm on their board called Broadway Hearts. And Broadway Hearts, we suggest to put together where these actors, actresses go to the children's hospitals, the big Ronald McDonald House in New York City, sing, dance, do the Disney type songs for them. And we're already getting requests how to go into other theatrical towns, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, etc. But I was doing a thing today, and they put together a virtual song for me. It was so flattering. Put on a happy face, where you got 30 of the cast members all singing at the same time.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, that sounds so neat to do, because it reminds me of Patch Adams, right? Because he always wanted to have the kids smile and
I was so fortunate. I shared the stage with Patch Adams several years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got to meet him. And it's so funny, went to shake hands, and he said, no, you can't shake hands unless you pick your nose first.
Oh.
So we both did this, pretending, not the actual.
Right.
But the Robin Williams character that he portrayed, Patch Adams, was almost dead on. I mean,
was it really? I was wondering. Yeah, when you said that, I'm thinking, oh gosh, well then he probably was that funny. That's hilarious. Yeah. Oh, that's neat that you did that. So, I, again, I want to ask another question. Today, aside from all of the charitable work that you do, talking about Frank personally, what gives you joy in your life and in your family?
Well, the joy is again, reaching out to all these people. Now, you mentioned my grandchildren. My grandchildren and great-grandson, in fact, and my daughters all live in Columbus, Ohio. So I only get to see them a few times a year. I always make
or via internet, like we all are, right?
Oh yeah. We do that. And but just, I don't know, my joys are, we've got a fairly large place here, being out in the open, fishing, even back in my days. In fact, I worked under narcotics or in a homicide. I had to get your head clear. I said, have you ever been fishing on the Yellowstone? Have you ever been up in the Tetons? Have you ever been up at Rushmore looking just, I mean, all these solitude type places? That's my joy. That's my joy. A fishing pole in my hand. That's all I need. And my wife by my side.
Yeah, if she wants to fish, if she wants, right?
And she does, and that's the
Does
big
she?
thing. She loves those.
Yeah,
For years and years, we rode motorcycles all over the country. She
yeah.
just
Oh,
wanted to be
wow.
out back on a motorcycle. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's all you need.
yeah, yeah. No, I was saying that, I wish you could have met my father. He passed away, seven years ago or something. And he's buried, above timberline on the Continental Divide in Colorado. We took his ashes up there and spread it because that's where he loved to be, loved to hunt. And I learned a lot. The other side of me is very, very quiet, like my father. He's a lot like Clint Eastwood. He's very, very quiet, doesn't say much. And, we have to do that. I think that's where the sanity is, in these days. So, well, Frank, I want to say thank you again. You're such an inspiration. And, I can only hope that I can give as much as you've given. I doubt that I'll ever make it there, but
Oh,
one of the biggest things that I love about you, and I know you say that, you don't have to have money to give. The key thing I think is that a lot of people tend to give just money. And I love that what I've really learned is how to dig in, and I've witnessed it by seeing you. And, you may not know that from afar when we're in the movie theater or wherever we've been on stage together, but just seeing the amount of work, physical work that you put in, really inspired me to make sure that I don't just give money, because it's just not enough.
well, and again, the message of the movie, everyone can be a hero. Just help somebody out. And you see it, especially right now, what's going on with
Oh,
the virus thing. People helping people, and even big corporations helping out. Unbelievable how they're giving back to the
oh
community.
yeah, changing what they make and making something different that will help everybody. And yeah, I think it's incredible. And at our church we created something called the Guardian Angels, and I'm Catholic. And what we did was, there's a handful of us. There's about 30 of us, and we're reaching out to anyone who's over 75. And we're reaching out and having conversations with them and taking medication to them and sitting on their porch and talking to them through a window and doing whatever we can to help them. And, I have to tell you, I mean, it's very, very fulfilling, because I could just sit in my house all day long, I'm sure, like everybody else, but it feels good to be able to give back to people, and especially people that are feeling very lonely and real isolated. It's one thing to be social distancing with your family, but it's another thing to be alone.
Oh, definitely. And especially, like you say, with the elderly generation shut in right now, how much that means to them, what you and your group are doing.
Yeah. Well, and believe me, I was on a phone call the other day for about 50 minutes with someone just talking about everything. And I was fine with that. I was fine with it because I wanted to share. I mean, gosh, I have 37 I'm one of 37 cousins. So I have 12 aunts and uncles that are, well, that's just one side, plus their spouses. So I've got probably 18 or 19 that are still living. And I've been calling them too. It made me say, well, why, if I'm going to call people from my church, why wouldn't I call my own family, my own,
Exactly.
uncles? So I got on the phone and we've had a blast. What a blessing. I hate to say it, but what a blessing the pandemic's been, because it's brought us all back to a reset that has been in alignment with your entire life.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's been awful. Awesome. I just want to say thank you so much again, Frank, for taking time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. And I will make sure that we have all the links in there. If you're listening and you want to hire Frank as a speaker, good luck with this time. Good luck at getting him, but there's an opportunity for you to do that as well. And I encourage everyone, please watch Wishman. It is an incredible cinematic film. I just can't tell you how much it touched us, and I know it
Thank
will
you.
touch you. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right. Pleasure talking to you.
You too. You too.
You've been listening to Success to Significance with Jen Duplessis, the #1 podcast for people wanting to give more value and make an impact. Loved this episode? Be sure to subscribe right now at www.jenduplessis.com/S2S for more stories, strategies, and thoughts to help you gain significance and success. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Join us next week for another breakthrough episode. Thank you for listening.